On Tuesday, April 16th, 2024, I will call a monthly meeting of the village board of Sister Bay to order. Roll call.
Bell,
Here.
Shampoo, here, Orozco, here, and Warner, here. Going to move to oath of the office for the newly elected trustees. So Denise Berto, Kurt Hart, Louise Hausen. Do you have your oath of office with you by chance, Louise?
No.
I'm going to ask you to respond and then you can sign that for me. But I will give you one collective oath if you don't mind. Raise your right hand. Do you, Denise Berto, Kurt Hart, and Louise Hausen, having been elected to the office of village trustee, but not yet entered upon the duties thereof, swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office to the best of your abilities? I will.
I will.
Thank you. Sign your life away and I'll pick those up.
And you're in. Up and ready.
I do a chance to get all that. Then on to 3, honoring outgoing village trustees. I see one out in the audience, so I'd like to thank Sarah White for her service as a trustee. Do you have a plaque here?
Thank you. It's so great to be part of it. I'll be in the audience cheering you guys on.
Okay, on to item 4, moving the agenda. I would like to amend the agenda, removing 10B. By some, there's just some issues with 10B in here. We're going to put that onto a later agenda.
That's the, I don't have an agenda in front of me. That's the, we're going to vote out for the contract.
Correct,
Okay, thank you.
Fitzgerald contract.
Second.
It's to approve the agenda as amended. Okay, motion by Roscoe, second by Berto. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the March 19th village board meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Berto, second by Shampoo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Comments, correspondence, and concerns from the public. I am putting a 3-minute limit, non-transfer, 3 minutes, non-transferable limit on public correspondence here, so anybody in the public? Yes.
Hi, would you like me to stand or am I
Please.
okay sitting?
Please, and your address as well. Name and address.
Name and address, sure. My name is Karen Barrett and I live at 8608 East Moonlight Bay Drive over in Bailey's Harbor. But I do own a property right here in Sister Bay at 10444 North Woods Drive. That has been an STR for me since 2017. I do believe strongly in supporting our county and villages and towns, and I serve on a number of boards and a number of responsibilities throughout the county, to include home host of Door County, and we've spoken to you before. So today I just want to do a couple few, and I promise, Nate, 3 minutes. I was participating in the Zoom meeting at the Planning Commission meeting, the last one that was on March 24th, and during that time, the staff reports of that meeting, a proposed letter was presented that was to be sent to our state legislature regarding Sister Bay's concerns about short-term rentals. I spoke with fellow home host board members, and we found many concerns with the statements made in the letter and could not find the data to back those concerns. Primarily concerning was inaccurate data related to the size and scope of STRs in Door County, with conclusions relating to the inaccurate data being presented to the legislature on behalf of our Sister Bay here. I'm here today with the support of our whole board and with Michael Service, who also serves on the board. The information for these statements was obtained from the workforce housing study for Sister Bay from 2023. Incredibly accurate and available data is available from the Door County Tourism Zone Commission that has been functioning for a number of years and who is dealing with lodging and short-term rental units on a daily basis. For example, the draft of the letter mentioned over 300 short-term rentals in Sister Bay, when the tourism zone data for 2023 actually lists 88 single-family housing units in Sister Bay and 45 condo units functioning at that same time. Many other claims about the rising cost of homes, cost of the community, and more were expressed in this draft letter, and were not substantiated by the data that is currently available throughout the county. The data actually showed that 75% in this workforce study of the homes purchased at that time were purchased by residents or seasonal residents and not short-term rental owners. And a number of those that were purchased by short-term rental people were already short-term rentals before the new homes owners purchased them. The total number of housing units in Sister Bay, according to census data, is 1396. 88 of those units are single-family short-term rentals and 45 are condo units. It defies logic to say that 133 units, which account for 9% of the housing units, is the driving force behind the rising cost of housing and lack of employee housing. Home Host would love to have the opportunity to participate in discussions regarding short-term rental concerns. We are totally supportive of all ordinances passed by local villages and towns and have supported Sister Bay in their endeavors. We would love to have the opportunity to work with the village board here and to continue to work with them rather than feel like an adversary. We have worked successfully and collaboratively in Egg Harbor, Ephraim, and Bailey's Harbor, just to list a few. We did send an email to the current village board members and encourage discussion about this draft letter and the inaccuracies that were listed there, and hope that our concerns will become village board concerns about this draft letter. I don't see the letter on the agenda here, but the Plan Commission voted on the draft as it was presented and unanimously approved sending it without further discussion after adjustments were to be made by the chairman of the Plan Commission. I asked the village office yesterday if that letter had been sent and was told it is still in the process of being adjusted. If and when that letter is sent, when can we obtain a copy of that letter? I don't see it attached to the minutes of the meeting from the Plan Commission meeting, but it was there and available for viewing at that time.
Karen,
Thank
your
you.
time is up.
Time's up. Thank you.
Hi, Pat Duffy, 10876 Word Spring Road. For those of you who don't know, I'm a former village trustee, been on the Marina Committee for 12 years. At a recent Marina Committee, well, and to start with, having been where you are, I appreciate the time it takes for you to do what you do. So I do appreciate all of your time. At our most recent Marina Committee, Bilius and I were a little surprised to hear that we were going to go forth on a contract. I understand it's not on this agenda, but without the village, the committee making that recommendation. Generally in the past anyway, the stuff starts at a committee level and you put, especially on a building project, you put together plans and a presentation and somebody would come and present that to the board for approval or discussion. Last fall, it was left when Dave came with original plans that the majority of the committee was not in favor of the plan he showed us. We gave him 5 or 6 bullet points to discuss with the architect, and he was going to come back with a plan that we could discuss, approve, change, whatever, as well as further go on. We've learned since that there's been changes to the code that we can't even replace the building right now without a zoning change or a variance or something to allow that. So all of a sudden, it's like, you guys are thinking these living quarters or something maybe that we think are a good idea coming to you. That is not the case. We would feel bad having been a past chair if that's the presentation you guys got for a new building. It hasn't been done in 40 years. We absolutely want to do it. It's something that, quite frankly, I think it would be a slap in the face if we didn't ask our customers what they think before we go for approval. As the village builds new buildings or contemplates building new stuff, there's usually a public hearing. We get input. We like to know transparency, things are going. None of that has happened. So it was disconcerting that, again, potentially, you guys felt that was the Marina Committee's recommendation and or presentation for the new building. It was not. And I apologize if anybody got that thought. Support is here. Allison's in the meetings, Patrice is in the meetings. If we need discussion, I reached out to some people who are really in the know on this living quarter thing. I won't read the whole thing, but I mean, their numbers are there. They were very nice. They said, these are great questions. I'm glad you called. We'd be happy to talk to whoever wants to talk. As it says, we don't want to be landlords. We can't manage the marina building that's there for rent already. The boathouse I'm talking about, which that's a whole nother thing. I had a conversation. I don't know if you guys have seen the report from the professional engineer. Okay.
Yeah.
That's 3 minutes?
Yes.
Okay, well, anyway, so I would hope that we could seek your grace to continue to create what should be the presentation for a recommendation for the new boathouse before like decisions are made at this level. That's all. Thank you.
Steve?
Steve Mazinski, 10519 Fieldcrest Road. Super Day.
Talk a little louder, please, Steve.
Steve Mazinski, 10519 Fieldcrest Road, Sister Day. I got pretty upset over the tree trim that was done to our trees. I had sent Nate and Julie a letter, and Nate didn't have time to get back to us yet. And I've also met with Eric, which is news, I guess, for Julie, since you suggested it. And I also met with the county today, and I was even more disturbed about what I heard from Eric yesterday. I would be happy to sit down with you guys and make some suggestions for how this can never happen again, and how we need to fix this up. And we can do that either the committee or individually or whatever you choose, but be happy to talk with suggestions for what went wrong and what we need to fix.
Thanks, Steve. Miles?
Dan Housen, I think everyone knows me. I'm from the Friends of the Sister Bay Ice Rink, and I just wanted to give the board an update on where things are at. Since I think in February, the Parks Committee committed $5 million to our, I mean, $500,000. So since that meeting with Parks, we have been working in earnest. Our committee's been meeting every week. And we've got teams working on obtaining our 501c3 status. We have an attorney here in the village who is donating his time to help us along that path. We've been proceeding with some conversations with rink designers and also pickleball groups and different organizations about year-round use for that future ice rink slab. We've also obtained a commitment from a local contractor to provide services for demolition of the existing pad at either minimal or no cost. It kind of depends on what it all entails, but that is a huge commitment from a local contractor. And then we've been scheduling some initial meetings with potential larger donors. Today, we met for the second time with the Door County Community Foundation. They're very excited about our project. That is for those unfamiliar with the Community Foundation, they basically help you steer a capital campaign. They are the advisors who do this professionally for a lot of the major projects around the county, like the Crest Pavilion and many others. So they are excited about potentially working with us. We'll get an application into them potentially for June review. We had a conversation with a company, they're called Modern Mechanical Ice Systems. They are the company that we've been consulting with over the last 4 or 5 years when we got one of our initial quotes. For the ice rink, they used to be called American Arena. They've changed their name. They contacted us just doing a follow-up to see if this project is still alive. I told them it is. They had a project drop out of their pipeline this year. So they were saying, well, actually, we could give you a great deal if you want to proceed this year. We are not in a position as a group right now to just turn the key on that. But we are having some conversations with some potential donors to see if this is something that they would want to, fast track it and try and do it in a very short-term time frame. This company could, if we got the slab demolished and did some prep work, they could turn it around for next winter. But there's a lot of stuff that would have to happen. And that's one of the reasons we reached out to a local contractor to find out if that's even possible to do the demo. If we did get an opportunity to do that, They said, yes, it is, and that they would, this particular, I'm not naming the name because I don't want to put them out there publicly, but like, said, yeah, if you guys were making this happen, I'd make it happen. But there's still some other people we need to check in with to see about other work that would need to be done, if we could even do it. So I wanted to give you guys an update of some of the stuff we're working on and where that sits. We would have to have a lot of big conversations very fast with donors who make this happen. So it is not like this is tomorrow, but if we do get some of those conversations moving and somebody jumps on it and we can move, then we'd have to work in earnest with the village to handle things like an RFP process. However, like I'm not, I don't have any deep dive knowledge on the RFP process, so we'd have to meet with Julie and other village officials and figure out like how that would all work and where that money would funnel if we proceed. So that's where that stands. Essentially, we would save like this company, because they lost that, they would be willing to like drop $75,000 to $100,000 off their price. On the grand scheme of our project, is that a deal breaker? No, it's a really large one, but it's something, it's an opportunity that once it came up, we wanted to look at potentially doing, so. That's where we're at.
May I request that be on our next parks agenda? And Miles, would you be able to make that meeting? The first Monday,
May 6th.
Absolutely.
May 6th,
Yep.
3:30?
Yep.
We can hopefully put you first on the agenda. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You said there's somebody on.
Yes.
Okay. Who's that?
Kimberly, if you want to unmute yourself, you're up.
Hi, thank you. Oh, wait, I'm gonna lower my hand here. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me. I have a feeling this is just a comment. I can't ask questions. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I've emailed a few of you. I've had response from one, which was great. But I really kind of need a back and forth, because I'm the owner of Stony Ridge Apartments, which is 2366 through 2374 Ava Hope Court. And we have one of the Fred and Fuzzy's fourplexes sitting on the corner of Northwoods and Ava Hope Court right now. And I really need some answers on what the status is and what the process is going forward if deadlines aren't met. I kind of feel a little out of the loop as far as like notification. I remember building the buildings, the village wanted to know the siding and the roofing choices, and everybody needed to know what was going on. I was notified by the Shoals what was happening. But then I felt like this building just was plopped on my corner, and that's the welcome home to my tenants. And, you know, with the doors flying open and the railings and the weeds growing up, I just think it's a really terrible welcome mat for my tenants. And I have a third lot. We've been, you know, considering building another 8-unit on that lot, closest to 57. I don't think I want to do that with this building sitting there, and I kind of want some answers. I feel like this 3-minute thing is not really going to help me. Denise and I spoke, I don't know, what was that, 3 weeks ago? I spoke to Julie at length. I really just want to know what the process is with the village. If Paula Anschutz does not make the deadlines of what she's supposed to be doing, because I feel like there's no notification process here. So I don't know how I get answers from you guys if you don't call me back and you don't email me back. So what does the village actually do for us property owners when we have a question like this?
You can.
That's it. So Nate, I actually emailed you and got,
I just searched your name. I was just responding back here. My apologies, it went to my spam folder.
so you found my email.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so can you tell me what the plan is?
This
Where-
is not a dialogue right here, Kim, but I will reach out to you
Okay, when do you think you'll do that?
the next 2 days.
Next 2 days. Okay, great. Thanks, you guys.
Is there anyone else? Yes.
Jim Newcomb, 2218 Sunset Drive in Sister Lake. I sent Heidi email, of like 6 things. The crux of the whole thing is, I think one is you've got, on the agenda, you've got a road going through, but what is the purpose of the road? Where does it go? And people who granted, we've been in the village for 8 years. But when you use people's names for property that used to own it or something, that doesn't help anyone that's relatively new. Because I wouldn't know if one person's property is to the other. The marina building. I'm all for changing whatever the marina building. Add more bathrooms, get more bathrooms like what's on the center of town, get them on the north end also, because a lot of people use that boardwalk. And it just would provide, new road. Is there a priority list for all, is there a common list somewhere that lists? Well, we've got the new stuff behind the dog park and, baseball diamond. Now we've got a new piece of property here, we're planning this, we're spending money, we've got the road, we've got the marina. Is there a priority list or a wish list? And even a rough estimate of costs, what you spent now and what, if you're gonna move the water department building and build another one, well, there's gotta be some rough costs somewhere. I being a shop teacher, I had a budget for a year and you come up with ideas of how much are these items costing? Somebody's got it. Come up with a list with priority costs, bring it to the village to have a vote. I know we voted you in, but there are a lot of people that feel like, she mentions, well, I've got 3 minutes and I'm not gonna get a comment back. This is only for us to basically feel like we're expressing frustrations. Now, we'd like to know where and what is going on. What's the big bottom total? And I know you don't know all of the stuff down the road, but money's going out or it's being allocated out, and somewhere you gotta have a plan. Every business that I've ever been associated with has 5 and 10-year plan.
Thank you. I guess what I would just respond in general with, sorry, because you've already used your 3 minutes.
I just have a suggestion for you to remind people of why there's no dialogue.
So this is a point for us to get public input. And it can devolve down into
An agenda item
an agenda
that's
item.
not on the agenda.
And there's a lot of public meeting rules, very good public meeting rules that we need to follow on here. So it's not that we don't want to have a dialogue here, it's just how public meetings work. Otherwise, we end up getting ourselves in trouble and violating state law. So it's not that we don't want to answer. And I've been a little bit more strict with that than others in the past. But there's a lot of really good rules for that, I guess is what I would say. And it's not that we want to obfuscate or we don't want to tell you what's going on or we don't engage in a dialogue. It's just not practical and it's not legal to do so in all circumstances.
Nate, can I ask a question? I find this too, we get these public comments, and I do wonder, like, I didn't know anything about tree trimming. I'm curious, are we ever going to talk about that? I'm curious to see the letter that we might send to a state legislator. Are we going to talk about that?
You will when it's finished.
Okay, so that will come,
Mhm.
and hopefully we'll talk about the marina building. So when do we discuss these things that are brought up?
That was the appropriate place to be 14, to put it on a future
Well, I mean,
agenda.
just in general, when people, I think maybe this is what some of the audience is thinking, and I've kind of wondered, when people come to us, we get these notes, but we don't always act on When do we get to talk about these things that
So
people bring to
we
us?
would put them onto an agenda and then discuss them.
Okay,
That would be the proper method for dealing with that.
but they don't always make it there.
Well, who's ever on that committee then should needs to follow through and make sure it's on
Okay.
the appropriate committee agenda.
As we hear these things, I mean, 14 is there for anybody on this board to make suggestions. So when we hear these comments, yeah, we don't jump down and put them on the agenda, but it is for all of the board members to do.
Well, Mr. Chair, am I right that anybody can request an agenda item on the village board meeting?
They can request that, I mean,
Right, 2 people.
It takes 2 to get it on.
Right, but anybody can suggest it.
Okay.
Or a committee meeting.
you had 30 seconds left.
I sent this email. Do you get a copy of it also, or just was, did they get a copy?
Yeah,
of
it was forwarded to all of the board members
Okay.
before the meeting and I have it here.
When it comes in that late, I mean, it's,
Well, I understand that.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if each of you get a copy or if it just went committee or.
no, when Heidi gets public correspondence, she passes it on
Okay.
along to all of us. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
I thought Patrice.
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry,
I
Patrice.
just had, I have a request from Dick Burris. He's requested the village set aside some space or some property for residents to leave their shrubbery and their branches, especially after the last storm that we all experienced. A lot of other villages like Ephraim have, a program where a place where they can dump their shrubbery and their branches and bushes and stuff like that, just to get their property cleaned up. I think this is a great idea. And it'd be a nice service for everybody in the village and make all of our property look better.
Can
I go to park?
we get down to it?
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
Good. I would like to say that this committees and the village board works at least 6 months of the year on its budget before there is a public hearing that everyone is invited to. We have a capital improvement plan that goes out specifically for 5 years, but even probably 5 or 10 years beyond that. So anybody that's interested in costs and what our future projects are and how we have prioritized them either needs to come to the committee meetings when they're talking about budgets, at least come to the public hearing that the village board has pertaining to the budget before we adopt it, and it's all laid out right there.
The kittens. Anyone else? Okay, on to 7, proclamations. Proclamation for June as Pride Month. We received that request from Open
Northern Board.
Northern Girl Pride.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Berto, second by Roscoe. All those in favor?
Can I mention something real quick about this?
Okay.
So last year there was a problem with, offending some of the veterans. There was a pride flag hanging in the village hall. And they replaced that with the American flag, and the veterans are very upset by that. So is the flags gonna be flying at the village administration office or off the village hall, and what happens to the American flag?
I can answer that. So I don't know why, but we've always only had one flag holder there. And because the board had designated June as Pride Month, they had to take the American flag down to put the pride flag up. Eric went and purchased another flag holder and mounted it, so, and then went and put the American flag up. So yeah, in the beginning, it was just that pride flag, but within, I think by that Friday, he had another flag there.
Great, thanks.
I guess I would also point out that there was in excess of 30 other American flags up and down that, but I understand and I appreciate that we're doing that. It was, I would just want to make sure that we understood, we didn't take down all of the flags and replace all of them.
No, it's
Still.
just that one.
Yep. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 8, ordinances. Chapter 7, that was Eddie.
So last month you reviewed a draft of an ordinance concerning cigarettes, tobacco products and electronic vaping devices. A few revisions were suggested, so the ordinance has now been updated and is presented for your approval tonight.
Motion by Roscoe,
Second,
second by Shampo. Discussion?
I just had one thing. Just the naming of the department. So page 26 starts the actual ordinance, is that correct?
Yes.
So down on page 28, it just says under section 7074, it doesn't really name what this department is. I think it's the Department of,
So it is the Division of Alcohol and Tobacco Enforcement, which is now referred to as the department, in shorthand with the passage of that act. So you'd have to read all of Act 73 to learn that.
okay, is Act 73 part of this, or should we actually name the department?
We are doing this because of Act 73. I don't have it pulled up on my
I
computer.
just wasn't sure if the department was actually referenced anywhere, or if you have to go somewhere else to find it. And if not,
Oh,
I
I
thought
see what you're
perhaps we
saying.
could just name the department, which is on
You want to reference to
707,
it somewhere else.
number 4. It says, or has been informed by an employee of the department that the department will issue a seller's permit. I
You're-
thought we could name the department.
You're just looking for a reference to it somewhere else. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't see the department ever identified in what we've got here.
Because it's part of Act 73. So I don't know if the reference to Act 73 at the top of the ordinance would suffice, or if you want it laid out more clearly within the chapter. We can find a place to put it.
And I was assuming it was the Wisconsin Department of Revenue. Is that what it's talking about?
It's Division of Alcohol and Tobacco
Because
Enforcement.
I tried to go back to I looked it up online and that's, okay. So I think it should be, because I did try to go online and figure it out, and that's what I came up with. So I think that should be a little more clear. That's all.
Okay, so it refers to the Division of Alcohol Beverages, which was created with Wisconsin Act 73. And that's a whole separate chapter within Wisconsin statute. So I can reference that at the beginning if you'd like.
But it does say that in the whereas,
It does say,
Wisconsin
Yeah.
Act 73.
okay. Okay,
Perhaps it can be added to 7.01.
Definitions.
Yeah, just spell out specifically that definition, that department means.
Yeah, then when you refer to it again.
Okay.
Yeah. You can just say the department.
Would that, do you think that clear up? the
I think
concern?
so. That was the only thing I had.
There was a motion,
Yes.
motion by Roscoe, and that's as amended.
And I seconded it.
Second by Shampo. Okay, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, ordinance on annexing and assigning zoning 40 acres in Mill Creek Road.
Pretty self-explanatory. This was actually started at the board, referred back to planning commission. That's the way the laws work. Planning commission held a public hearing. They had no objections. They, recommended approval to the board. And what it does is it's the annex and the temporary assignment of the zone.
Motion by Roscoe.
Second?
Second by Warner. All those in favor?
Aye. Question?
Did you get the keys?
In my desk.
Okay.
We took a tour of the property, didn't have the key, and that night, I'm like, oh my God, I think it was on the other key. And sure enough, it was. So I apologize for that.
They want to see the whole.
8C, ordinance for the floodplain zone.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Berto, second by Roscoe. All those in favor?
Aye.
I just want to say for the record, because there was a question on this, the floodplain zoning ordinance does include the floodplain maps that become effective May 8th. We had a call on it, from the DNR. And so I just want to make sure that, and it is included in here, but that way the minutes do reflect that that is definitely included.
So question, where would I find that after this, if I want to take a look at those maps, where are
The
they?
maps, so the maps are in our office because they're not online yet until May 8th.
So maybe they're online. Right.
And we're
okay.
gonna, what we have to do is when we publish the ordinance, then we have to put the link to the federal website, to the FEMA site.
So that's where you access.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they're federal, but floodplain, is that why?
Yep.
And they are laying back there on the table.
They're very boring because there's hardly anything on it.
I happen to like maps too.
Okay. We just don't have a lot of floodplain.
Yeah, I looked and I
Yeah,
thought I
I'm
was missing something
curious.
because there
I'd
was
like to
nothing
see
there.
what
I'm like, what
floodplains are.
am I missing?
Yeah, I'm curious, we call those swamps.
interestingly, we are considered a high-risk area for flooding. Which is very surprising considering the floodplain maps don't really show any areas that are capable of being flooded.
Right.
8D, introduced ordinance for no parking on Highway 57.
Okay, so, this started in the plan commission, who had concerns about parking along Highway 57 at the south end of town. They made so they asked staff to contact the DOT to see if no parking signs could be put in that area. DOT said, yes, you can put them up, provided you have an ordinance that allows you to do that. So the recommendation had to be made to the Parks, Property and Streets Committee, whether they wanted to adopt such an ordinance, and they did. So their recommendation comes to the board, then the ordinance is attached for you to look at and would become effective upon posting.
So it would actually be appropriate tonight.
No, you're correct. It's just introducing it because,
So that's,
yeah, what happens is by law, we have to give the public 2 weeks to review this ordinance. And because Parks didn't meet till the 8th, we didn't have a full 2 weeks. So we're introducing it. If there's any questions, we usually address those right now. So we get a fine-tuned product and then we adopt it at our next meeting.
so we taken the action we need to for this meeting by introducing it,
But also taking comments on it, Nate, if there are any.
discussion.
The south boundary is, think
Country.
about this, country line.
Country lane.
Okay.
And it's written to say it's a distance 1,500 feet
Yeah, I see that.
north of that,
Mhm.
because that takes you to the driveway at the highway shop.
Okay. North of distance to the highway shop on both the east and west side after that.
And we did talk about how far it should go and if we needed to go
That's what I'm wondering.
If we
why not
needed
just
to
do the
go-
Whole thing.
further or less.
Right.
And we thought if this was adopted and the Parks Department put up the signs, the appropriate places
Right.
within that first 1,500 feet.
Uh-huh.
And if there was still an issue
Mhm.
after we have those up, the plan commission would talk about it again. And see if we needed to.
Yeah.
To extend that from that one particular business that has its customers parking on the highway.
Right, and Chris Kindle. And they don't put those signs up now, which is great.
It seemed past the highway department. It seemed like it was maybe too far that people wouldn't start parking there and it's a
Yeah, they won't.
steeper shoulder.
Absolutely, they
So
won't.
that's why we thought.
But we don't have the expense, because we had some kind of an expense last year, we signed for Chris Kindle, right? Didn't we? On 57, we put up no parking signs, didn't we?
I know we did the year before. I don't know how much we did this past year. I
We
know,
did this year.
I know it was
Okay.
not as much.
Okay.
They did a lot on their own.
That's a big,
Yeah.
they did,
Field
okay.
dress was-
I thought it was like.
But
the
these are
second weekend we had.
permanent.
Gotcha, that's what I mean, but there was an expense putting them up during Chris Kindle too, which wasn't great, so that won't happen.
Right, that'll save them money.
Mhm,
They won't have to pay for that.
mhm, mhm.
So, and if we want to change it, we just follow the same process. We need the ordinance
Yeah.
and then staff can go with the sign.
Sure, okay.
Okay, so no changes.
9E, or 9 resolutions. Application for pit trailer and parking in Pebble Beach.
Okay, so in October, the Parks Committee had discussed doing some asphalt on the northeast parking lot and a pit toilet out there. So I talked to the DNR about possible funding. And have a conversation with another one, Thunder, and have another one scheduled, but, in order to apply for the DNR funding, you need a resolution. That's what this is.
So moved.
Second,
Second by Ms. Cole. Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. 9B, grant application for property acquisition for park off of Highway 42.
okay, so, as it explains, we do have a trail that goes back to behind, Wolf Brothers. And Lambert's, I guess that's the easiest way to say that. And, you'll see later on the agenda where Wolf Brothers has offered to gift us, land to continue that trail or to a property known as 2629 Highway 42. The owner of 2629 Highway 42 came in and spoke with me to see if the village would be interested in acquiring that property for park purposes. The property is completely surrounded by a natural area, a Door County designated natural area and woodlands. And then to the east, there is a migratory bird habitat area on the other side of the trail. And this went to the Parks Committee and they supported it, provided we could get grant funding to actually purchase the property. So, again, to apply for any funding, though, we need the resolution.
So a couple of questions. I did go out there and I took a look and I took some pictures if anybody's interested. So there's 3 buildings there. The house is there. It's rather large. There's 2 outbuildings. And then there's a building, it looks like it was a barn that has to be removed. It's probably, I don't know, 30 by 20, something like that. The trees that are there, there's a very large tree that's right when you go back by Cap Wolf's building, but which is now, it's not, Cap Wolf has built a building there, if you aren't familiar. So when you look at lot number 2619, there's a building there now. That's the new Wolf Brothers building. So anyway, when you drive down that road and you get to 2629, as you walk into 2629, the house is right underneath number 2629. There's a shed behind it. There's a shed about 100 yards away from it, and then the barn is on that property bottom left. There's a very large tree as you drive in that's dead. There's another tree just to the left that's gonna die. So there's a lot of tree work that needs to be done. So, and if you stand in that and you look towards what's now Cap Wolf's building, it's not private. I mean, it's not secluded, there's nothing that prevents you from seeing the back of Lambert's, but more importantly, Cap stuff. So, I just, it's as close as it is to Pebble Beach. And also, I live there, by the way. I live across the highway and I walk my dog down 42 right by there. And so I know the area fairly well. I just am not sure that this is the best investment, for the village, even if we get it paid for with a grant. Because we're gonna have to do an awful lot of work to fix it up so that it's pleasant and people will wanna, after they go there the first time, will actually wanna come back, I understand that those apartments are right there, so it's not too far from there, but they do have, some other options. So, I'd really like to see us tackle some of the other stuff on our plate. And, as you said, the agenda item that's a little bit later on in the meeting, which would be to have Cap, give us that little horizontal line that kind of takes us over here. To take us another 50 feet or whatever to there. That's fine, it's free. He doesn't give too many people anything for free, so I'll take it. But do you know what I mean? But I just don't see it. I'm sorry, I don't. And I don't dislike parks. I love parks, but I think we have a lot of other stuff on our plate.
I'll just comment on, that, you know, and, so we do have a trail going back to nowhere at this point. I guess we could sell the trail land if we don't bring it to something someday. You know, I'm always looking at the planning and the future of it, and this property, the owner, like I said, he offered it to us for park purposes. If not, it'll probably be sold and probably, assumed by the lot in front of it for commercial developments. But at some point, we're still gonna have to decide what we do with that trail then, because why own a 15-foot wide trail that goes to nowhere?
I'll tell you why. Because it's a work in progress. And currently, it's a trail going nowhere. Cap Wolf's easement will give us a little bit more. If we don't purchase this property and somebody else does and they want to do something, we will ask them, the new owners of 2629, for an easement across the back. And at some point, sometime in the future, whether it's 2 years, 5 years, 20 years, 100 years from now, we are creating a plan of trails that will eventually connect the village. So it's not for nothing. It's a plan. I've been thinking a lot about this, and I know Julie is a huge proponent of neighborhood parks, and so is Patrice. But when you think about how small Sister Bay is, you know, couple miles by 3 miles. I didn't Google it to make my case today. I should have. And we have a fabulous sports complex that we are trying to upgrade. We have Waterfront Park. We have Pebble Beach. The Plan Commission has been talking about any new multifamily developments to create their own playground parkland within their development, so it doesn't become a village expense. And just like we did for Cal Aiken's last project, we asked them to put in a fenced-in dog park for their dogs, people living there. We asked them to put in a playground. So and then if you get to the suburbs of any, doesn't have to be a metropolitan area, a huge area, there is not a park every couple blocks for those residents in those areas. You still have to travel to a park, most likely, unless you're very fortunate to live very close to it. And I think that the plans that we have are more important than spending money on something that's going to require expense every year in the future. When we have everything else ticked off of our list of the big projects that we want to do, then maybe we can have that conversation again. But I've heard the argument that it's for the multifamily housing, whether it's the Shoals or Stony Ridge and all the housing that's up on top of the hill, there is not a safe route for children to get down to Waterfront Park. Well, if you lived in the suburbs, would you allow your child to ride their bike through, you know, on the sidewalk to the park by themselves? I don't think that's an argument. I don't think we live in that kind of world anymore as when I was growing up, and I literally walked 1 mile to school. And it was safe. I don't think we live in that world. I'm not saying that Sister Bay's unsafe. I'm just saying it just doesn't happen without, your children are not usually going that far away from a parent or a babysitter or somebody else going to a park. So I am not good moving forward with this.
There's a couple things you said that I absolutely disagree with, but I also don't think that we should move ahead with this. I guess the first thing I would say is having a trail that abuts commercial property is beneficial. I mean, everybody thinks that only people are only ever gonna get there via roads. That does change over time. We're not. That is becoming increasingly common way for people to connect. That could be somebody coming from the apartments, taking that trail to, who knows what that commercial property will be. That may be somebody that somebody wants to access there. I really, really, really disagree with your comment about the suburbs and looking at that as a model, as something that's how it is in the suburbs, so that's how it should be there.
No, I'm saying that doesn't happen in the suburbs. You
I'm
don't
saying-
see a park every couple of blocks, and when you look at the size of Sister Bay, that's kind of what we're talking about.
I'm saying I don't want to emulate the suburbs. That's what I'm,
Okay.
I think, even though I completely disagree with that sentiment, the trail system is actually going to make it so people do have a little bit more access to things. And like you say, you may have a trail to nowhere now, but 5 years, 10 years from now, we won't. We'll have an option to connect that to somewhere. I mean, right now, the trail to nowhere has been on the books for a long time, but it's an option as we develop this. I also strongly believe that we need to have a safe way for people, kids, just people in general, to get from up above the hill to down below the hill that is safe. I understand what you're saying, that maybe children aren't like that, but I guess I'm more of an idealist than you are, Denise, thinking we can get there someday. I understand it's not a direct path and it's gonna take time, but these very actions make that possible. So I completely disagree with you, yet completely agree with you.
Personally, I don't like the location of this being a future park. I'm totally for, we do need a park on the south end of Sister Bay. We really do, with all these apartments and all these new housing and all the stuff going up. It's so busy going down that hill, traffic, even biking. We need a park on the south side of Sister Bay, but not here. I don't see it happening here. I think we need it more by where, closer, the Shoals area, all those apartments, the Stony Ridge, that area of town, but not here. And I agree with Louise that we don't need to spend a ton of money ripping down a barn and a big house and sheds and all this and that. And I just don't like the location, so I would say no on this particular piece of property or a park.
Just for the record, I do want to clarify, the discussion was that it was a respite park, just one where you sit on a bench, you get to the end of the trail, you sit on a bench
Okay,
and you look at the woods in front.
yes,
Because
natural.
we don't have those, so.
And you, Julie, you were thinking that you would maybe be able to pay for this with a grant, correct?
Yeah, and the Parks Committee, when they discussed it, there was the comment, there is no money for this. And I said, well, let me see if I can get the grant money for it. And that's when,
For the purchase, but then
Yeah.
like Louise said, the village would need to put some money into
Demo.
making it, yeah.
right, you include that in your grant application.
And
Filling
then
in the,
Most likely, though, the grants, you never get a grant for 100%.
no, you have to take grants that do 50% and then another grant that does 50% or 25% and you pile them together. Like we're gonna have to do on Pebble Beach.
And then Julie, didn't you also mention at Parks that there was maybe some hope that this area with trees could be preserved as natural land, perhaps by the land trust?
Yeah, so that property has, it can be accessed by an easement, but there's no road that goes back to that property, that big wooded property. And so I had conversations with somebody at the land trust to see if they would be interested, if they ever had an interest in preserving that, because 2 lots down, the property is in a conservation easement. So what you're seeing, this area, when you look at the big map and you put all the layers on it, you're seeing a whole bunch of natural areas and areas that the county has identified as being sensitive or critical areas. And so you're, like I said, 2 doors down, you saw the conservation easement. That's the only conservation easement right in this immediate area though, because it's up to the property owner to put in conservation easement. But,
So I like the idea in that case, if this path could maybe someday, if that other wooded area, perhaps somebody else will buy that and make it land trust, who knows, that would be nice. But I like the idea of extending the trail, getting Cap's, his little land and buying it, and even if we didn't have to knock down the house right away, it would be something for the future that we could maybe have.
Well, it's gonna be $100,000 to take down the trees and take down all of the buildings.
Yeah,
And there's
Or-
trash, I mean, there's junk
Plus-
on the property.
Oh, yeah, it's a mess.
I have to
Um,
agree that.
And the property's 200,000.
I think we should be focusing on the projects we have right now. And once we start checking things off our list, then maybe look back at some of these smaller things. We don't necessarily need a park right there at the moment. I do agree that we should keep the trail though. I like the idea of that where we're going with trails in Sister Bay and Door County in general. It looks like one of the villages are going that direction, but, I don't really think we need a property like that. It's just adding more on our list and we should just focus on working and finishing the bigger projects we have right now.
So I can let Mr. Overby know we're not interested. And I don't know if he would do this, but are we interested then in trying to get a 15-foot easement or piece of the property before it is sold?
Sure,
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Would we purchase the 15-foot?
we haven't purchased it from anybody else, and just because if he didn't, if he didn't want to give up the village that easement, then if he's able to sell the property, we can talk to the new owner.
So I'll relay that to him.
Okay. Contracts. And A, McMahon Design Services for Administrative Building.
Just the way it is explained in the packet, looking to begin, the design services for the admin building.
So moved.
What kind of timeline does this put us on? For the admin building, if we do this now?
He can start working on it on March. He was gonna work on it, over the course of the summer. So that it could then be, go out for bid for construction drawings.
So I mean, like, just ballpark, when, if we start this now, when does that put construction to start?
According to our CIP next year, in 2025.
Okay.
But we have to get sewer and water there first, would we not?
That's all part of the planning process.
Okay, so that was a motion by Berto, second by Roscoe. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Just in case I haven't screamed it from the rooftops enough. McMahon is awesome to work with.
Or at least Mike,
Or Mike,
Yeah.
yes, thank you, Lily,
he has been really good to work with.
yeah.
Okay, on to 11.
And that was part of our recommendation from Parks, that it can't just be McMahon, it has to be Mike Martin that we work with.
He was the one that came the first time, right?
Yeah, that's doing the Parks maintenance
Yeah.
building.
That's good.
Okay. 11, discussion, conditional use permit application development agreement for one mobile food vendor court at Pink Farm.
Okay, so the Peach Farm wants to put a food truck on their property next to their deli. This went through Plan Commission, is recommended for approval. It involves two different types of approvals. One is the conditional use permit, which is focused more on the use, and then the development agreement, which is focused more on the development of the property. The conditions and the items that were of concern to the Plan Commission that they recommended be included in the conditional use permit and the development agreement are in front of you.
Denise, I have a question from the planning commission on this. Is this gonna be visible from the road? I know they're planting some trees and bushes.
Well, if you look at them, there's a map in
I,
here.
I saw the map and I couldn't for certain determine if that's gonna be highly
I mean, you'll
visible?
probably see some of it. We asked them to plant one additional tree. Right in front of, so it's on page 130, thank you. What that, where it says food trailer on the map, and then there's a green circle. We asked them to plant that specific tree. And to make sure that all the other landscaping that's notated on here is also done. But that was a request, so it would. So you'll probably still see some of it.
Mhm. I just think as a village, we should be careful going forward, for any more food trucks that they would, if they were gonna be highly visible from the highway on the main street. I don't think that's a good look for Sister Bay. I think we need to be very careful about all that going forward.
Well, I don't know that that's enough to deny a conditional use permit, that you can see it from the road. If people meet all the other criteria, it would be pretty hard to say no, because we can see your food truck, but people need to see it to patronize it so that they are successful.
But that's what we need to think about as a village. What do we want Sister Bay to be? Have a lot of food trucks seen from the road? Is there gonna be a limit on this? We've already approved a food truck port.
No, this is like any other business that would come to the plan commission on any piece of property. If they meet the criteria, it is approved.
We can't treat them different because of our food truck. It's another.
Right, but
Well, we-
as a village, I mean. Do we need to look at the code? Do we need to tighten that up? I mean,
We just drafted it and have made amendments.
Yeah, we just passed a food truck ordinance,
Yeah.
and it's a really tough one. It's not,
I don't know, I'm just trying to. In the future, I mean, we don't want Sister Bay to be food truck, you know, like that in Sister Bay.
If they meet the criteria,
Well, that's
we
not a
cannot
good
deny it.
plan for the future.
But it's difficult criteria. I think it was very.
It's a
well thought out.
difficult criteria,
Yes, it
yes,
is.
but my point is, can we somehow
no,
keep it as visually? We can't.
asked
we
them
can
to put
ask
tree
for
there.
some landscaping,
Mhm.
but,
which has been done here.
and it was probably very easy for them to agree to it because they are really putting it in for their patrons of the Peach Barn, which is in the back. They didn't wanna serve hot food, get into that. That's not what June's Juicery is all about. Sarah and Jason had said, it is for their patrons back there. Now, somebody else, the next person that may come along, you know, they might just be on their own and not have another business to rely on for customers, so they will have to try to get them off the road by a sign and visibility of their truck. It's a commercial district.
Patrice, I think one way to accomplish what I think you're looking for is through stricter landscaping standards.
Yeah.
Which could be addressed when we do
Yeah,
code
something
amendments or.
We need
other
to really be
changes to the
careful
code.
here.
But you
Can't do that
can't
this one.
block the view of a business.
Right, but we can try to make it look more attractive. We can try to make it more pleasing to, you know, our visitors that come through town and for the residents that live here.
I mean, that's what our code does already, but we can certainly adjust that and keep that in mind as we're.
Yeah, I just think as the planning commission, the board, we really need to be careful what we are doing here in the future. With food trucks and the look of the village and what do we want this to be in 20 years and 50 years, you know?
Sure, I guess one thing I would say on that though, is it's not what the village is doing, it's what the village is permitting. I mean, really, that's what
Yeah.
it comes down to, because the village isn't going out there soliciting food trucks.
No, I know we're not. No, I know that. But I'm just trying to protect the interest of the village's look and charm and history and trees and all of these things. And being that we have a food truck port right across the highway that we approved, that's where the food trucks should be, in my opinion. So like, what's the cutoff? And I know it's allowed, I know they meet the code, I know they meet the zoning, but maybe we need to relook at that.
Change the law.
Do that all the time, like every month.
Yeah.
Oh, that's super fun. Let's do that again. I mean, I don't know. I think it's a pretty tough ordinance.
So we're looking to approve this at this point.
Yes.
Motion by Haskell, second by Warner. All those in favor?
I,
Opposed?
Aye. Nay.
That was Shambo and
Yes.
you were also, okay, all right, okay. I'll make sure we record that. Okay, 11B. Property acquisition of a 15-foot trail we've already mentioned.
Yep, just to clear up some confusion, it's not an easement, it's an actual acquisition.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Bertle, second by Roscoe. All those in favor?
I,
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, 11C. This came to me and I am not looking for anything specific here, but I don't want to waste any village or staff time without having the board be on board for it in generally. So this is I was contacted by Corey Diltz and his wife some time ago. I've had a very preliminary conversations with him. He has property that would connect Canterbury to Maple. 2 parcels there. Canterbury, that's gonna be back behind Bargains.
Does everybody know the property that we're talking about? Because
Yeah.
there's no information, there's no address, there's
I'm-
no map.
I'm sorry, I did not have, I was looking to talk with Corey to get that in there before I put it in there. I was gonna have a very general discussion, then the name was attached, so.
So can,
What's his address on Maple?
okay, so Heidi is going to look it up.
What's his address on Maple? Do we know?
99 Maple Drive.
It is Corey.
299?
2299.
2 doors down from me.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of like good platform, kind of.
Yeah, I'm on the GIS. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So as far as how much it's gonna cost, not discussing that today, that would be something else, but is there just general consensus? Should we move ahead with this or not? Should we explore this? I mean.
I did talk to some of the neighbors on Maple. It actually was Dick Burris was one of them, and he thought it was a good idea to connect Claflin all the way to the Canterbury. Evidently, this has been discussed in past board meetings, Denise, so do you have a
We
lot of history on
discussed it
that?
A lot.
Yeah. So I
And
mean, I
when
don't know
Bob-
what your feeling is on this. You live on that street.
When Bob Cuffrin was here, I wish it lined up a little bit better, because unfortunately it would, if the village did move forward. You know, the property is a little bit east of Claflin, so it's not like it's a straight shot. And there's no, and the Brest property next to it, it's kind of the same problem. So you're never gonna have a 90-degree intersection unless you bought both properties. So it's gonna have a little jog, but half the roads in the village of Sister Bay has a little jog. I mean, the worst intersection in Sister Bay is Mill and the highway.
Does he own all the way back to Canterbury?
Yes.
Yes.
We all
Okay, and
do.
who's 2303? What's your address? 2293?
I'm 2285.
Live in the village.
Or you're 85?
Yeah, 2 doors east.
Okay, so you're talking about. Okay. So, this is it.
You know, just with all the congestion that we have, Nate, with the coming out of Maple to Highway 42, you can't even go left in the summer there.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm bringing it here, because I think it's worth discussing. I think that,
So, yeah, I mean,
I-
I think it's, for the future, I think it's a good move for Sister Bay after talking to people that live, especially in the neighborhood and stuff. maybe it would alleviate some of our horrible traffic and congestion problems.
So people then
And the
go
hill,
up there,
it'd be safer,
go down Canterbury and then try to take a left on 57.
but at least. you're-
There was also just
Well,
for
yeah, but
broader
57 on that curve.
a
Right.
broader perspective, at the same time that we talked about that property years ago,
Yeah,
we also talked about, if you look to the right, if you go to 2279.
Yep.
Okay, and then you can see that narrow
Yeah.
strip
I see it. Who owns that?
hull.
Oh, that's the Hull line. Okay, and that goes all the way back, and is that part of the 9 million?
But I mean, it's
trying to
just,
sell?
it's a separate parcel that's been surveyed.
Barbara, I mean, I,
Part of the whole thing that she is trying to sell,
Right, okay.
but we also talked about that being a good connection also.
2273 is looking to sell, did you say? No.
They're selling all their
Hull is selling
property
the whole property.
for 10
too,
million
what goes out
dollars.
to-
Actually, Barbara's strip would not be wide enough for a road or it'd be difficult to get a road. It'd be good
Yep.
for like a
Yeah.
pedestrian.
Like, it's huge.
Oh, it's not 60
48.
feet?
No, but
It's
she
not
could
wide
also
enough
sell
for-
numbers.
Okay,
and she was
This is her.
pretty,
Yeah.
she was extremely
And
set
then it goes
against
out
that,
this
from some
way.
people I've talked to.
okay, all right, well, it's
That-
not wide enough, I didn't remember that, maybe that's why it dropped off the radar way back when.
So I guess some questions that I think that we need to get answered, and you're looking for everybody else's thoughts on this too, is what does this do for EMS fire response? I mean, how big of a benefit is it to that? Because I think that's something that would make a difference.
About that too.
Better
scam.
Because it's going to make it easier for, I would imagine, shouldn't speak because it, without talking to. the
Well, now
chief.
you're coming out of the fire station,
We had to talk to Chris.
you're coming onto Mill, now you got a left-hand turn onto Claflin, a jog up, whatever that is.
The connection.
I mean,
Canterbury.
they're
There's a
They're
lot
not
of
going fast
No.
at all, but it's probably faster than dealing with traffic. Now, we're also talking about access for the future. We're also talking about a fire station in the future on Woodcrest.
Some people
So,
are talking about a fire station on one,
Right.
some people are.
I'm not saying when, could be 25 years from now, 20 years from now, but you have to think of all of it if you decide to make a decision on some of it.
100%.
That's my point.
Right, and it's like, what's his timing?
I don't have
Right.
an answer on this comment.
So
I'm
we
looking
have
for-
no money. We have big projects over the next 3 to 4 years. Um,
Yeah, the timing isn't great.
No.
maybe they're not looking now, maybe it's
That's why I
5
asked
years
what
from
the
now.
timing.
Are
Yeah.
they looking to sell soon?
I say I have not had an in-depth conversation. I don't want to go down very far down that path with resources and their, unless I know what the board is thinking, because I have seen others in the past get far out ahead of the board and it doesn't end well. So I don't want to go out there and try and figure something out on my own and then say, okay, well, this is what it is coming back here and there's no consensus for it. I'm not saying we're gonna have a hard commitment for it, but it's a board decision.
I just see another house being taken out of the pool of available houses if we. I assume we've. not
And this
done
is a
that.
smaller, less expensive home
Yeah.
too.
So that would be my concern. One more house not available.
That's the biggest negative, that and the expense are the biggest negatives.
And almost all of us back there. We kind of all own, like mine has been resurveyed, so it's one lot. But mine used to be in 2 also. So there's the front parcel and then there's the back parcel that fronts on the Canterbury. Almost all of us could split our properties and sell them off and have other homes back there fronting Canterbury too.
I just think the timing's tricky, because, you just don't know what's coming and what's next, and it's, it's a bit of a puzzle.
And
I
then
don't
we have
think
to
we
spend
know-
money to build the road.
Well, that, but also I just don't, I think there's just too many, I think too many elements that are missing to make an educated, really good decision. Like we don't, you buy this, you know, there it is. And then you have this over here and then you've got that over there, but then you have this option. It just, I mean, that's why I wondered what his timing was. Based on the unknown, which is pretty much everything. I don't think the timing's very good for it. I'm not saying it's a horrible idea.
Right.
I just don't see the strategy behind or the grand plan of, because I completely agree that we need to figure out a way to divert traffic from certainly Maple and 42 or some sort of a, you know, a way around. And I certainly understand that Chief Hack needs a safer and quicker place to help people. I just think it's.
I mean,
Well,
I think
I
it's
don't know.
worth a conversation.
Yeah.
And I think timing, if it's in the next 1 or 2 years,
Yeah,
or
that's
3
tough.
years,
Right.
no, we can't do it.
There's other things that are gonna happen that we don't even
Yes.
know.
Correct.
You know it, something's gonna happen.
So. Broad brushstrokes, 3 years or further out, it's worth having a continued conversation. If it's less than 3 years,
We can't, we don't have the money.
It's 2327, I mean, that looks like a. That's a big lot, is that,
I have to scroll.
that's just such a bigger lot.
2327.
it's also part of the hall.
Oh, over that way, sorry.
232 doesn't make it also waterfall.
Yeah, I mean, ideally for the best thing, I think anyway, for where the firehouse is now, is to go east. If they want to get out fast and then go south, period, like.
Yeah, it's Audrey,
boom,
Audrey.
You know, not
Larson's
make this
property.
turn and that turn, and those are tight
And then you've
turns.
got the church in the way,
It's a narrow road.
Right.
Right.
so there's not a road there.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what I was looking for.
Okay.
Any other thoughts, comments? Okay. I should have something by next month, I would imagine. Okay, committee appointments. Heidi got everything put together last Friday from you guys. I have not had a chance to go through everything, and I've gone through it, but I need to have a conversation with everybody here. I would like to have a special virtual board meeting on April 30th, 6 o'clock. Could we just go over that, the appointments? That's a Tuesday, so it would be a Tuesday at 6, that's why I chose that. The one committee I do know right now, what we'd like to do with it is plan. And that is going to be, my recommendation is going to be reappointing Ron Kane, so, Julie?
Yes.
And Denise be chair, and then to have Mitch Ozar from the plan commission. And I would still leave that Patrice and I are up next year, so we're still on there. And then as is March. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. So that's what I'd recommend now, and then to have that meeting on the 30th. And I would like to talk to you, everyone here, preferably this weekend, or I know I have a hard time finding time with you, Patrice. I don't know if maybe I could catch you after the plan commission meeting next week. So that would be my recommendation.
Can everybody make the 30th?
I can.
Yes.
Okay. It's Zoom, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can do it.
Yeah,
Oh, it's
I don't
Zoom?
even want to, I don't even want to have a clerk.
Oh,
Yeah, there's,
That works.
for that
I
sort of
didn't
thing,
hear that part of it.
yeah. Yeah, we can
Okay.
keep staff from having to set up the,
Oh,
Mhm. Well, the light bulb's going on in that projector anyway, so it's gonna die anytime.
oh,
talk to somebody about getting moving.
I texted Chris.
I'll send it over.
Do you have anybody that's still on Zoom right now? I can't tell.
Mhm.
But if you,
Yeah.
But if it,
they're way in the top. Those little. those little
Okay.
white leaves.
So
I
I
don't know if this
guess
is appropriate time, but I'll ask the question.
I would look for, approval of the plan commission.
Can you repeat one more time, please?
So that would be, reappointing Ron King, Denise, and then appointing Mitch Arnold. So there, Mitch has been at the last plan commission meeting.
He's in our audience?
He's in our audience.
Wave to us, Mitch. There you go. Hi. Hello. So moved, or you moved, did you?
So moved, yeah.
Second,
Motion by Roscoe, second by Hassan.
yes, sir.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. 11E, that's you, Heidi?
Sorry. I wasn't, Okay, so before the board of review meets, which is coming up the end of May, we do need to train some folks. It is required that, that at least one person from the board must attend mandatory training. The DOR has changed the rules that don't make me, buy a new video again this year and present a training, so we can watch the old ones and take the test. So my question is, who would like to take the training? It's gotta be at least one of you. When would you like to do it? Because you can do it individually. I could send you home tonight with a training packet. I have 2 of them. And you can take the test and return it to me, or we can find a time to set it up here and I will sit with you and go through it and try to answer your questions. But it is a self-paced course.
About how long does it take?
Couple hours.
I will do it on my own. I've done it before. It's been a few years. I could use a refresher.
Is there anyone else that's done it that's here besides?
Lily and I did it last year.
You did it last year.
I did it 100 years ago.
It's probably changed.
It's a great
We
video,
have cars now.
very high production quality.
So if multiple people would like to view it, especially for new folks, you know, we can certainly get them out to you, take it, bring it back when you're done.
It is helpful if you have never been in a board of review before. It really is.
I'll take it, that's fine. I'll do it. What do you have, 2? You have 2?
I have 2 sets right here, if somebody wants to take them tonight, otherwise we'll have to work out a little schedule of when they need to be returned and when
I'll
the
take
next
it
person
tonight. I'm
can take
not
them.
doing it tonight, just to be clear.
Do we have a
Um,
time frame when the?
So you have to complete your test and return your affidavit to me before the board of review, which is May 30th, so I need it by May 29th.
So this would go from me to Nate.
6 o'clock.
Can I do it
What's up?
later?
I think she has one tonight. And that she has one with her tonight, but I think it has to be passed on to someone else.
So I can digitize it. And then I can just have it, so I can get it to you in a couple days.
Flash drive.
Oh,
Even
wow.
better.
Wow.
Maybe I can just copy it overnight then.
Sure.
Well, I wanna do it by this day. So it'll be done.
We're in Friday, thank you. Yeah.
So for those of you who are new as well, board of review is required of you are the board. May 30th is our meeting at the village hall at 6 o'clock. And add that to your calendars.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm confused. I've been to a board of review meeting and people have come before. Am I confusing this with something that?
No, that's right. They come to talk about the property assessments.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we have to be there for 2 hours, whether there are people there.
Right.
Right?
I'm sorry, what's that date? Sorry.
May 30th.
Is that a
Thursday
Monday?
evening. Thursday evening, 6 o'clock, village hall.
I think
Told you I
that was
did-
a while ago, it was already on my calendar.
Yeah, we talked about this
last
2 months
year.
ago when we set the dates. Yeah,
At 5 PM, sorry.
6 o'clock.
6 to 8.
6 to 8.
Plus.
There will be snacks. So, you know, that's always an incentive.
You gonna
Yes.
bake?
And not enough people ate Heidi's snacks last year, so come with an appetite.
Oh, I always
Make her
Heidi's a
feel
good
good.
cook and a very good
I didn't
baker. Are
remember
you gonna
that.
bake, Heidi?
There were cookies.
What did I make?
Cookies, there was a big
bake?
baker.
I'll bring something.
Cheese and crackers.
I didn't realize the one person was gonna take 2 hours.
My favorite thing is some of the stories I heard from Dave Leno. On the very quiet board of reviews. I got some really good stories about Dave's. Youthful indiscretions.
Okay, thank you, everyone, for being willing to take that training and getting it done in a month's time.
Okay, on to the financial report. Any questions? Oh,
I have a quick question on room taxes. And you probably, maybe, I'm not sure, but you might be able to answer this for me. Julie, on room taxes, the budget is 57.6, and I know you haven't collected anything, you collected anything yet. Is that 57.6 the same? Does she just put the same amount for, she doesn't, or is it flatline for the year?
It's based on projections.
Okay,
So what they do is they look at what last year was
Yeah.
and the projections.
yeah,
And that's what they base that.
okay.
I have a question about, the expenditure on March 20th. Or decorations, is that Christmas decorations, or what kind of decorations are we talking about?
I'm sorry, which one?
Decorations, March 20th,
Page.
page, I'm sorry, 145.
Just see who the vendor is. On page 145. Oh, okay, there in the credit card statement, yes, Parks Department has been purchasing up Halloween or Christmas lights as they are on sale.
Good.
Okay.
It's a really good time to do it.
Didn't know what that was.
We've, as a village, showed an interest in the, what do you call them, the trees with all the, like, you know, they
The
come down in a
silhouette?
string.
Oh, the homemade ones.
Yeah. So, and then we also go through a lot of lights, so we can go on sale, we do.
I'll make a motion, we pay the bills in the amount of $1,459,941.54. Motion by Bell, second by Roscoe. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Staff reports.
Try and answer any questions that there are. The key takeaways,
Yes, I have, gonna put on my Ken Church hat.
Oh, boy.
So I shared with him the unfortunate news that he is not getting his turn lane. That Parks did talk about it because it was just too narrow. So he has a plan B. And he wanted to know if during the summer, we could put up a no left-hand turn sign. And I said, I don't know, but that's an interesting question. So I think we should. In my other parks, well, we're gonna have a new parks committee. So should we put that on for a discussion for the next parks meeting?
if you want, you're the chair. It also means all the parking and all the Mill Road parking will now go through a residential area.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't think I'd be.
They
in
can't
favor
take a
of
left
that.
into the beach parking. If they're coming down the hill and they can't take a left on Mill Road, you won't be able to get into that parking lot.
No,
What?
coming out Mill. Coming out
sorry,
Mill to
coming
the
out.
highway, you're facing
Gotcha.
east, no left turn.
I understand.
Okay.
That makes much. more
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, we can put
Aren't
that
you
on
all
the,
mind readers?
I understand. I got it around.
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to take a left, so they could go straight, which is, and honestly,
Take a left there.
I don't know if it's a good idea or not.
On
So,
first blush, I think it's a good idea, and obviously fire EMS is gonna be able to do whatever they want there, so.
right, people stop them, so it's not.
so
The track.
I'm just sharing his plan B, so we can talk
Not a
about it
bad
then.
idea.
What is, I have a question that, on this was, I'm sorry, are we staying with one particular committee report or,
We're just staff reports.
sorry?
Staff reports.
I'm sorry.
Anyone.
Staff. So the parks maintenance work, Eric said that they did, a lot of brushing on field crest. What's brushing?
so that's when, they go through and they cut, and that's what the gentleman was referring to earlier.
Trimming the
They
tree.
cut to keep the right of way
I
open,
gotcha.
so.
Yeah, they did a
And
bunch from Bailey.
To talk about that now, I mean,
They
you
did a bunch of
don't
Bailey.
cut past the right of way, correct?
That's correct.
So every
People don't
time
know what
this
the right of way is.
happens, people get very upset because it
Well,
looks very different. I
Yep.
think the county does it once every 7 or 10 years.
I'm not sure how often they do them, but
Something
they.
like that,
haven't
so
done it
it's
for a
always
while.
a drastic
Yeah,
change.
when you drive down 57 into Bailey's,
And people
You'll
get
see it.
very
they,
upset.
it's like they clear cut the whole
They did.
from
yeah.
about Joe Parent's place all the way in. Yeah,
But that's land that,
I got it. I just,
I guess
now I know why I haven't seen it.
I don't want to engage in a conversation on that, but I think it is something that's worth discussing it parts of, should we be doing that? I don't want to start that right now because we're getting too far.
Well, it's county land.
let's
isn't
put
it?
it on Parks agenda also, as it's getting very long, Nate.
Do we do it or does the county do it?
We do our roads.
I'm sorry, our own roads, of course, yeah.
I'm sure you'll have somebody show up in the public for that meeting.
Okay.
Anything-
May I make one other thing too? I'm not sure, I don't know if this is the time to ask, but the lighting committee,
That's on the 30th.
sorry,
I'll address that.
okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else in staff reports? Move on to committee reports. Coastal byways.
They're working on their, bedroom book.
Haven't they been working on that for a year?
Coloring book.
2 years.
Well, what they did is they were trying to solicit donations and then it was trying to get a grant and now I believe, I wasn't, Janelle goes to those meetings, but I believe the thought is maybe we need to revise what's actually in there to make it more attractive so people are interested. So
You're not wrong, Denise, because we, I should say the Sister Bay Advancement Association placed an ad. And it means they're doing the best they can. You know, I don't know what else to say, but all the committee associations placed an ad and gave them some money.
they also have spent time now, not recently, but you know, a number of months ago, they were coordinating with, I want to say Discover Wisconsin on the coastal byway and promoting that. So they don't just work on the cartoon book, but that is a major focus of it. To try and color and book, yeah. That is a major focus of it, though, trying to get that squared away and get the funding for it.
Yeah, and they don't have enough. I mean, it's, you know.
Emergency management planning has not met, finance has not met.
Hold on a second. So I did talk with Denise and Allison, I'm sorry, I never got back to you after I checked for your availability, but Denise thought we should just hold off on that emergency management planning committee until like next winter and see where everybody else is at with their plans, correct, Denise?
Well, I just felt that there's a lot. I don't know, when I got on my soapbox a couple of months ago and I said, you know, let's think about staff and as committee chairs, let's think about what we're asking staff to do and projects to work on, so the committee can discuss it and everything else like that. And emergency management met a few times. It's really interesting. I really believe in it. But it got shut down because of COVID and then the county lost their main guy. Now they have somebody new hired. And I just thought, now is not the time when we have bigger projects going on. Couple of other ad hoc committees that we're gonna be implementing. We have a plan. It's just not a plan that's specific to Sister Bay. But we have a plan, so it's okay. So I don't want it to be dissolved, but I would like to put it off for a year. Was my request.
And I will add, some of your departments do have their own emergency plans.
Right.
And I did tell Denise that I would ask if DCEDC, the Economic Development Corporation, perhaps could work with some of our businesses on emergency plans. Do they have generators? What do they do if they lose their data? That type of thing. And I would like to remind everybody that it is in our bylaws that every single board member goes through NIMS training.
Which has yet to happen.
I think Denise, you're the only one.
What is that?
National Incidents.
Management.
How can we do this training?
So I'm gonna, when we do our welcome to the new members, and I'm gonna include everybody this year, just kind of recapping. Hey, you can't do this, we have to do this, here's information about this, there's a link to the bylaws. I'll include the NIMS training link in there as well. So
So is it
I
gonna-
think we need to have a deadline of July 1st, that it's completed.
Heidi, do you know, can you remember offhand what the bylaws say about that NIMS training?
Well, let me just grab them because I have it right here.
Of course you do.
I have to go to the board. It's a self-paced course. You could go online, take it anytime. I did all of the notes for it when I took it how many years ago, but.
How long is it good for?
It says this training. Well, you take it once, that's all. It doesn't say what the time frame is.
It just says every new board member.
And we did talk about last year.
Yep.
Denise did work on this to have it as a class, so the board did it together. We talked with
Oh,
Dan,
I'm sorry,
the previous emergency management director.
within 1 year of being elected. So, by this time
Okay,
next year.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I will send that reminder out to everyone.
yeah, that would be good.
Well, and after a lot of us had taken it way back when, we, Sister Bay, the, fire department, EMS, we had a mock disaster day in the village. Do you remember that, Nate?
That was before me.
That was before you? I mean, literally, bodies. Different people working. I think I was president at the time, so that was a while ago. What my role was, who our information officer was, how they spoke to the press, how I was supposed to, as president, convey information to. It was probably don't remember a lot of the mock disaster day anywhere, but it was
So who runs
interesting.
it? Who's the one that runs it and makes sure it's, you know, is it?
That would be the fire chief.
Chris, okay.
The mock disaster, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, because when there's a disaster, what you're gonna learn through NIMS training is there's a hierarchy of who
Yep.
does what.
Yeah, I can understand that, sure.
And Nate,
Especially
you know, I take a
communication.
lot of those calls, but we're very fortunate. Chris is very good at what he does. And like with the storm, Chris lined up, you know, he already had the warming shelter lined up. We know there's one at the library. The businesses were awesome. They stepped up, opened their doors.
Yeah.
But it could be a lot worse. That was could have been a tornado, and we need to know that, what to do.
I think it's a conversation. I haven't talked to Chris, and I'll ask him the next time I talk to him about it, is what that would be like. Or what, how often it should be done, what his opinion is on it, the mock disaster. Okay. Finance has not met.
which I would like to schedule a meeting tonight. For finance.
You don't have a committee? Yeah.
The 30th, we'll do it.
I've been waiting 2 months. Time is ticking.
We'll talk through this.
Okay.
Fire board,
Yeah, it was nice.
yeah, hot green tier.
They met and they are handing out free trees at Piggly Wiggly on our birthday, April 27th.
Yep, starting at 9 o'clock.
With their little logo on, trying to re-green the village. So they'll do 200 trees, first come, first serve.
Oh, that's great.
Wonderful.
Couple of comments on Green Tiers minutes. On page 8. Starting on line 13. Schmelzer noted that incentives would be challenging to offer, but she would make an attempt to add something to the zoning code to offer credits down the road. No, you will not.
I think we actually
Those were about low flow toilets and green roofs. That's what we were talking about when that comment was had. Incentives for environmental things.
well, if they want me to bring it, I will bring it forward. You guys can shoot it down.
Okay. And then. Okay, talking about the pizza boxes, and then Schmelzer noted that she will contact the owner and broach the subject on behalf of the committee. I know that they just met last week or something, so not happened yet. Okay. And then, Updated the committee on the possibility of recycling styrofoam locally, going garbage, so no one in this area is able to accommodate that request. I have a request for the Green Tier Committee. Because since COVID and the Piggly Wiggly took away their plastic recycling bins for the grocery bags or even other plastic bags, they haven't put them back out. So I was wondering, could the Green Tier Committee call going and see if they have a program or we could set up a program? Because there is, any business, and unfortunately, too many things come wrapped in plastic now, cases of things. And most of it's just thrown in the dumpster. We separate all of ours, take it somewhere. It's a pain, but if there was a place locally to go with it, I mean, I remember somebody telling me that, like when On Deck got in their semi trucks full of new clothing, everything's wrapped in plastic. Somebody saw him just putting it in the trash, out it going, when there are places that do recycle that kind of clear plastic. So
you're looking for like the shopping bag recycling, is that what you're?
something like that, clear plastic wrap, things that clothing comes in. Like for retail stores, and if there's, if going doesn't have an outlet for it, that's one thing, or if it would cost them money, how much would it cost, and would that be something interested that, the village might fund?
So up in Sister Bay, you can't put that in your recycling?
Not that.
People don't
Thin
know how to
plastic.
recycle still to
Thin
this
plastic
day.
bags.
I gotta say though, this plastic recycling is one of the biggest myths that's been conveyed on this.
Oh,
On the
I know,
populace
but
out there.
imagine if it still wasn't done. How
I'm
much
saying,
more
no,
would
but
be
like,
out there?
but plastic recycling isn't done. We may send it to be recycled, but plastic is not recycled. I'd be happy to get you some information on that. Please.
I've read plenty of articles on the small percentage of what gets done.
Yeah,
I know.
Nonetheless.
That doesn't mean that I'm going to give up.
I would, so. Trying to recycle a very small percentage, what can we do? I mean, something you mentioned to me, Lily.
Yeah.
Is, what about just banning plastic bags, and
Banning plastic.
there's all other places that have done it. It's a little bit out there, I know.
Not really, big cities do it, we're a small village.
West Coast of the.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, I don't see it being such a big deal.
I mean,
But there's so much more plastic beyond that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just.
I mean, we mostly use brown paper bags.
yeah, and I think a lot of businesses in Sister Bay already
Do that.
avoid the plastic, but you can put a ban in place.
I mean, that would be like the plastic that I can fill, I think it's a 55-gallon bag in 2 days, just a plastic wrap.
We will refer this conversation to Green Tier. and report back.
Thank you, sorry, kind of went down the rabbit hole.
I have a question about Green Tier. Are we certified Green Tier? Are we still on our way to doing it? Is it like you work your way up to one level of certification, or?
We're not certified. We have a long way to go
We've got
for
a long
that.
way to go? Okay.
We do the reporting. We're getting really close, but there's a long way to go before we're certified. And there's discussion right now in the state about getting away with, there's a bill out there actually to get away with the certification part of the program.
About doing away with the certification
Mhm.
part? Okay,
I don't know where it'll go, but
all right.
Well, you know who's pushing that?
Mhm. Is Egg Harbor?
I believe so.
I think they are.
Yeah, they have a coordinator on
And they were
staff.
one of the first ones to, I just wondered, okay. Because I read the minutes and I think the work that they're doing is good. I just wondered, like, if the goal is to become Green Tier, then what happens to the Green Tier Committee, which is great, and it's sustainable, I assume.
Well, their goal, the way I look at it is, they're trying to achieve everything. So there's a checklist of everything that takes to be Green Tier certified. And their goal is to get through as much as possible, because that is just better for our community.
Sure.
Like, we don't need the fancy title, we're gonna do all the work, we're gonna do everything to make
Okay.
it great,
Okay.
just not have the title.
Gotcha, all right. Okay, do you know, did they get, is the tree giveaway, is that through the Climate Coalition, or are they doing it on their own?
It's through,
The Climate Coalition, I
Green Spear,
think, gave
Jeff
them
Lutzy.
money.
Did they give them money for, it's Jeff Lutzy, that's the
Jeff
Climate Coalition, okay. All right, thanks, I just wanted that clarified, okay. Because they used to do it at Step Or a couple years ago or whatever, and I'm assuming it's the same program.
Well, they were looking for volunteers to do it here and we couldn't get enough volunteers. So then the thought was, purchase the 200 trees. Piggly Wiggly would host the location and then we could hand them out and at least get people planting more trees.
Yeah, the
which
Pigs
was-
is a great place to do it. and
What size are they?
They're usually this
18
big, about this
to 2?
big, yeah.
I think they're a little bigger than that.
They are?
Yeah, I think these are a little bigger.
Oh, good. Because it's 3 varieties, or it used to be.
4.
4, okay. Great, good.
Okay. Historical Society,
Yes, we met and, the Sister Bay stories this summer are gonna be Hotel de Nord, the history of Youngworth Hardware and Sister Bay schools. Right now they're working on a capital campaign to raise funds for the Little Sister Barn. They need $4 million over 3 years. The first year, they're gonna try to raise $750,000. They have a couple special events for the spring. There's a Mother's Day brunch to raise money at Time. Also, they're working on a lease agreement with Time for their overflow parking. They're working with Pinkett Law Firm on agreement to get that going. And as far as the funds from the Chris Kindle market go, I have some numbers here. So they, the total money that they made this year was $174,000, $272.77. But their expenses were $121,780.20. So their profit was $52,492.57.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
That's way up from last year, isn't it?
It is up. I don't know if it's a way up, but
I think it is. The first year, I think
Expenses
they lost
really-
money or broke even.
Yeah.
And this was
I
year 3.
remember
It
one
grows,
year,
it
I thought
does
it was
grow
only
every
11 or
year.
I
$12,000.
think that was probably last year, because the first year, I think they maybe broke even. This was year 3. I mean, you get better at it, you know?
So are they looking at their expenses and ways to get them lower, their services lower?
yeah, one thing they did is they got rid of the trolley and they
Yeah.
got a
School
cheaper
buses
bus,
instead.
school bus
Cheaper.
instead. So they are trying to do that. They did meet, and they talked about if they didn't want to do this anymore because a lot of the members are working overtime so hard. They're working the full event, 3 weekends. A lot of them are getting burnt out. So, but they decided they did want to go forward for this year, but, I don't know what's gonna happen in the future. They need like new members and younger people and people that can. It's time and it's a huge event, it's so much work.
That'll work. Yeah. It is.
holiday lighting has not met. Housing,
Can I
has not,
just offer something for holiday lighting? I'm not, had everyone been appointed?
no, that's gonna happen.
Okay, so the photographs are ready. So there's been photographs, photographs are taken of all there are books made, and there are photographs. I think we made 6 here. Hello. So I think we made 6 or 8 books, and photographed all the holiday lighting in the village. And it's, they're high res, photos, so they printed really well. You know, because, I mean, God bless, Parks, I mean, he's, with his cameras, it's hard to, so they can see, and then they're coded, they're keyed. So that the photos here, and then there's a map that says this is where this is. Because not everybody has, mentally knows where everything is, with the exception of, probably Santa at the top of the hill, or maybe the gingerbread house or something. So those are ready. And for those members to at least say, okay, this is what we have. The only thing that would be in there is if they have any kind of, holiday, decorations they didn't use. That may still be in storage somewhere.
I think all the good ones were out.
Yeah.
They held in some of the older ones.
Yeah, I mean, there were a couple in front of the village hall that,
Yeah, they cannot come back
They got-
next year. They look
yeah, but I mean, it's,
forward
you know,
this
it's, again, it's, that's why you have a committee, that's why you decide, anyway, but they're ready to go. They look great. And it'll be easy for people to say, okay, I remember that, I know where that is, I know where that was, so at least you know where it was. Doesn't mean that that's where you want it to be, doesn't mean you want to use it again, but at least you have a really good inventory of what's where.
Housing has not met. I did get, an email from Miles about 3 days after the meeting. That's why I said, hey, Miles, what do you think about this? Oh, I sent you an email. I said, did you send me an email? And he's like, nope, it was in my draft. And he sent it to me. And his email more or less said, I don't think you should have a housing committee. I'm like, well, Miles, too late for that. Ship has sailed. And he's like, I don't know if you're gonna get people to want to be participating in this. And that's what I have run into with some of the people I've talked to. I don't know that we're going to be able to get these individuals to participate continuously. I'm actually thinking we probably get a core group of people and then get some of these experts as we task them with it. But I have started having conversations, and that what Miles said kind of matched what. I've run into.
I did tell you about Seville, right?
No,
From Fitzgerald.
From Fitzgerald.
okay,
What's his first name again?
I can't remember.
He is part of the team designing the new marina building. I knew his mother, she passed away a few years ago. So they have a place up in Ellison Bay. He told Dave that when he was looking on our website a couple of months ago, he stumbled across either some minutes or something about housing or whatever, and he definitely wants to be a part of it.
give me contact information and all.
We can get that from Julie or Dave, probably.
Yeah, I told Dave to have him reach out to you when I talked to him a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
I mean, you have people that want, you had, somebody from the Yacht Club wants to be on there. You have him, Stantec wanted to be on there.
I don't think Stantec wanted that they were gonna participate, but I mean, like, that was gonna cost us.
Right.
Yeah, I think as part of the MSA, he was going to go to the meeting,
Yeah.
but I think you probably have other people if you
Yeah,
run an ad.
I mean, have we talked Marissa Downs?
a big shot truck.
Okay, Mariah Good,
I have not. But
Kimberly Hazen,
gotcha.
you did tell her?
I got to talk to her.
Becky Shumway.
Not familiar with that one.
Isn't Becky her first name that worked with Mariah on the presentation?
Old Becky,
Oh.
let's see,
Kerwin?
Roberts, Kerwin.
Her maiden name is Shumway.
I don't,
That's what I know her
the
as.
housing trust, just, yeah, they had an event last week in the village. Unfortunately, I was gone when they had that event. They did, who's in the play? What was it about?
It was,
Yeah.
yeah.
I saw that, yeah, I got a postcard.
So we should have something more on the 30th.
Okay.
Library Commission? That's
We
it.
did ask for an appointment tonight, but then when we decided not to do appointments. that didn't happen.
They're looking for a board.
Heidi?
Yes, because they are concerned about quorums all the time, so. They'd like to get somebody appointed as quick as possible just to ensure that they have quorum.
Okay, we'll get that on the 30th. Marina Committee.
We had some questions. Well, they're talking about dredging this week, so that's good. They have a couple good candidates for maybe an assistant manager, so that's good. Couple things that came up were the horn that the boat blows. is that a nuisance? Does that go against any noise policies? Is that something that could be done away with? Does anybody else have issues with that? That was kind of a question, but it wasn't on the agenda, so it just turned into more of a discussion and then was cut off, but I think some people don't like the horn, and it's a question, is there anything we can or should do about it? So that was one question. Another one was as Pat said, 4 of the 5 members of the Marina Committee did not like the idea of staff housing. And so we're not sure where the committee gets to look at the plans again. We didn't even have a plan in our packet. We don't know the location of the building. Lots of things had changed, and the committee does want to look at the plans again before it's decided on. And when is it the board's decision or is it the Marina Committee's decision? The Marina doesn't want to pay for this. A lot of people don't like the second story. A lot of people don't think it makes sense to have 3 units up there for a single person when maybe the next marina manager has a family, or maybe the assistant manager has a family, or we want somebody who stays in town. So why just give them a rental? And what if there isn't somebody who uses it, who is going to use it? And does the Marina Committee want to be landlords? Not really. There are just all sorts of questions, and who's paying for the second story? If the Marina Committee doesn't want, the Marina doesn't want the second story. I'm concerned about just the height of the building down there. I like the view as it is. I don't necessarily want a bigger building. So there are lots of questions about that we didn't really know how to proceed. And lastly, we discussed the boathouse, and it's in quite a bit of disrepair. The historical committee subgroup who is working with the shadow, we're giving them 2 months to come back and tell us if they can raise funds to do whatever they want to do with the building. And if they can't, then we will decide what to do with it. We also looked at the village hall, but it's a question, could the marina just have their bathrooms at the building that's in disrepair and not have anything to do with the village hall? Could the marina fix up that boathouse and make that their bathrooms? And couldn't that be the marina manager's place if we needed a marina manager housing? How come we've never used that as a marina manager housing?
Well, I thought they stopped renting it because it's unsafe.
Well, it was
It
being,
was rented this summer, but
Yeah,
it was
was there.
looked at, and it's not in great shape. So it's a question, are we gonna fix it up? It said 25 to 100,000, or knock it down.
that was the start of it, was just, I think,
Yeah.
that's how I read
Just
that.
getting an assessment of.
Yeah.
Just
what
to
it would take.
stabilize it.
yeah.
Not
I mean,
right.
But then
that committee-
thinking about it, if the shadow group doesn't want to raise this money or do it, it could be knocked down, but we probably can't build that close to the water again. What if it was just rehab to make that the shower bathrooms the marina wants and have the marina manager live there?
That's a question for your committee
know,
and
That was
plan commission.
So anyway, that was not discussed at the meeting, but so we looked at the village hall bathrooms, tried to. So everything's coming really quickly, trying to figure out the village hall bathrooms. I think it was decided that the marina just wanted 2 toilets and 2 full enclosed
Yeah.
shower,
2 shower
bathroom, like
rooms.
family components.
Right, that's what I.
Just for the marina, and 2 toilets that could be for public use at the village hall, if that's what ends up happening. So I guess our questions were, who's looking at this architectural plan? Do we have to have that second story housing? Who's gonna take care of the housing? Who's gonna pay for the housing? That was a big question. And then the horn is that, who talks about?
Well, they've been talking that horn.
Yeah.
That's your
For 7
committee.
years that I was up on, that I've
Okay.
been on the beach, and everybody thinks it's fun and flat, but apparently some people don't like it.
Alice and I have to check the code and see if it's a nuisance.
Okay, so that.
It's the nuisance code.
They did determine though, that the horn does not have to be
Not required by,
required
Yeah.
at night.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it was the latest I've ever, well, I've been there till 10 o'clock at night, but I think the last tour comes in at 8.
yes,
But
and
the
so
last
that
one
was the
comes in after
other big
sunset.
thing.
Yeah,
The big boat wants to do
oh, yeah. they want to
night
stargaze.
cruises
Yeah,
and
yeah.
come back in, and a lot of committee was against that. We didn't give a hard no because it wasn't an agenda item, but
of
thought
the
that the
noise?
boat coming back in at night would disrupt sleeping
Yes,
families.
so they had talked about how Dave was gonna give me the information, the details about that. So I could look at it and see if it met code or would have to go to planning commission. So when I get that information, I'll do more with it. So I don't know the details of when, what days, the hours or.
Yeah, but I think the committee was thinking it wasn't going to. I think the committee was a little nervous about the noise of that big boat coming in after people are trying
In
to
the
sleep,
evening, so
like
that would
children.
well, depending on when they go out to stargaze.
So they said they'd
Not
come back in
crowded.
between 9 and 10:30. I think they said 9 and 11. This says 10:30 in the minutes.
Kind of that late, yeah.
So that was Marine Committee.
Who owns the marina building? Anyone? Does the village own it?
I would
It-
imagine the
it-
village owns it, but it's operated by
It's a
an
marina
enterprise.
enterprise fund,
Okay,
so it's not part of our it's not wrapped in with
the budget.
the rest of the village properties or their budgets.
So who owns the budget to build a new marina building?
Marina.
So that's Marina. That's why Marina is saying the village board wanted a second story and living
Oh.
quarters, but the Marina Committee does not want it, nor do they want to pay for it. So
So I
Well,
have,
just a correction though, so they have their marina fund, enterprise fund. But the village board still has the ultimate.
Yep.
Control.
Ultimately runs through the board in terms of,
Underneath us.
so I would imagine that there's, not negotiation, but you work back and forth on what do we need and. But I think what they're saying is that somebody drew up a plan they didn't like and.
So the architect wants to move forward and we're trying to figure out what are we actually telling the architect we want?
There
So-
was no RFP?
No, because it was a intern.
it was, a lot of these services were done free.
Beautiful. Good.
Yes,
Fitzgerald is,
as a top notch.
they are highfalutin.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, that website is quite something.
His daughter was working at the marina and said, oh, I'll just get.
I figured there was some connection someplace, because
Yeah.
these people do some,
But then it gets to a point where then
I got you.
now the money starts. I have so much to say about this. None of it's good.
Well, let's watch it, but it's not an agenda, item.
It's under committee
Committee reports,
reports. So,
just cautioning.
okay. So we all received Pat Duffy's letter
I saw it.
under comments and correspondence.
Yeah.
And everything that's in that letter is the exact opposite of everything that our current marina manager says is trending out there and marinas are doing.
Right.
Is it cherry picked? Did he only put the ones in there? Is Duffy only saying one thing and our marina manager is only saying one thing? Where lies the truth?
Well, it's hard to say, but
So that's one of my first issues. I'm really disappointed that the committee can't look at the bigger picture of we have one opportunity to build a structure that's going to be there for quite some time, an amazing architectural firm that we would never otherwise be able to afford, most likely. And that we wouldn't think about the future. And when we already know that housing is an issue. And if we build it and we need it, that's great. I'm for it. We don't know if we were, I think I did read in the minutes that they are gonna offer a job to somebody. I don't know
We have
whether,
another interview.
Pardon?
We have another.
Oh, okay.
email.
I don't know if they need housing. And I think everybody should, or we could ask the marina manager to share his personal experience of qualifying for housing. And how he did not qualify for housing within the village. So we can talk about whatever we want. But if people don't qualify, and some of the wages that the marina was proposing for positions wouldn't meet the qualification to rent in Sister Bay.
So you're saying it's too low?
No, it's too high,
It's too high.
right?
Dave did not qualify to rent in Sister Bay.
Well, $25 an hour is 55,000 a year.
No,
and that's
you made too little.
He made too little.
Yep, you have to make
Right.
a lot. What do they want?
So I think the Marina Committee needs to ask Dave about his personal experience and what that criteria is and what that means for the future on keeping the marina staffed with qualified people that will want to come here if they don't qualify for housing someplace.
So we were thinking a housing allowance made more sense than an apartment at the marina. And my biggest problem was, it's made for one person. What if we got?
You said you didn't have a plan in front of you.
Well, that's what we didn't see the plan, but it's described as the marina managers and 2 smaller units, but basically for one person. So how do we have these 3 units there, taking up our view?
We have a
And, well, the view when you're at just a big building, I can't stand all these big buildings, sorry, that's going up in Sister Bay.
tall,
That's not like
Yeah.
2 stories, and I go to Marina Park all
Yes, it
the
is.
time.
It is.
Well, it's not, I just see this, envision a giant building, and I go to the park there all the time, and there's a nice view down the marina. So I just can see if there's a second story that's going to be bigger. In any case, they talked about 3 individual units, very small. So how do we know our one person that we want to get and retain is a single person? There's gonna be 3 little apartments up there. Right now, our marina managers.
That's something that you guys have to figure out.
I guess the other thing is, there's been direction given from the village board on this, so I mean,
Yeah.
like, this has been decided, so.
But the
I
marina
understand
doesn't want it, so we're wondering who's gonna pay for this
The marina,
and who is going to manage it? Who's gonna
There-
manage
There's
this rental?
nothing to manage because
Who's-
the only people living there is going to be marina employees.
So somebody has to decide how much they're paying rent.
Maybe they're not paying rent.
Maybe.
Maybe it's part of,
your compensation.
Well, I don't know, the marina.
I mean,
committee-
it sounds.
We did get a plan. I remember seeing it last summer. I've seen the plan a couple times.
We did, but that was never an approved plan. And I don't know if that had 3 apartments up there.
It did. It was a manager's quarters and 2 small studios.
And then we talked about movable walls, but none of that was mentioned in this.
I guess until we see a plan, I mean, like,
You guys are really too far down
yeah,
the rabbit hole on this one. You're getting into details and discussions and
So the marina
so-
committee wants to go ahead with the plan without a second story.
What plan?
the Marina Committee did not, the majority of the Marina Committee did not want the second story. They didn't want the housing in there.
Okay.
That is what.
So is this village board going to allow the marina committee to spend money on plans when the village board wants a second story with options?
So are you saying you want that as an agenda item for next month or April 30th to discuss that direction?
so does this make more sense to, understanding where you're going with this, Julie, do we push this back to Marina and say, this is what you guys can make a decision, or we're going to? Or
Well,
do
I
we
think-
just take it back to the board?
I think what has bothered the Marina Committee is they have said we don't want it, and the board said, well, you're gonna have it. And
And
they're
the
like,
Marina
why
says,
do we have to pay for
Why do we
this?
pay for it?
You're not even listening, we have no say in it, you're just telling us we have to have these, and now we have to pay for them. There's a rub there.
That's where I'm confused.
But there can be a rub from any committee.
You
I
need a
mean,
joint
the-
meeting between the board
the
and.
village
Marina Committee.
board
Like to me, yeah.
does not implement every ask from the plan commission. or parks or any committee. And if we are not big enough adults to understand that the buck stops here around this table, then isn't that a little childish?
Except the board is asking Marina to pay $100, $200, $500,000, whatever it's going to cost to add the second story, manage the second story, water, plumbing, heat it year round. So the board is asking the marina to spend a lot of money that the marina does not want to spend.
But the village board was good enough to loan them
But has
over
that-
$800,000.
Has that actually happened? Has that actually been presented to the Marina Committee and this is what we want you to do, and that actually.
There was it came back from the board that we wanted to see living quarters. on
That
the
was
marina.
last fall. And
Okay.
nobody at Marina knew this until this past meeting, because it just hadn't come up again until these plans were discussed.
Well, I mean, that's on,
That's odd.
that's on the board members who are on the marina committee to convey that.
Well, I
mean,
guess it
like,
just never
say
was on
that
the
Don should have
agenda.
certainly conveyed that as chair.
Yeah.
So it's not, as everybody at this table knows, we're not having secret meetings where we don't let the public know exactly what we're talking about. So. Okay, let's get this figured out what we're doing with the direction. So you're suggesting.
My
that-
recommendation is you have a joint meeting and you have
Absolutely.
to hammer it out.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay, we'll schedule that.
When is the next Marina Committee meeting?
They don't have when yet.
Let's,
No, I know, but when is it normally scheduled, which is the second Wednesday, which is May 8th? And what time are they usually?
4:00. 4:00. You Zoom, but we could probably do in person would maybe make more sense.
there's no way I can do a Wednesday at 4, I can do 5:30 soonest.
I'm sure we could push it back.
Yeah, I would.
Should we try to do 5:30? In person?
May 8th. Was there consensus on that 5:30 on May 8th?
Well, let's Heidi check, because if Marina is normally zoomed and not in person, is this room available on Wednesday, May 8th? At 5:30?
Sorry, I have to get to the,
That's okay.
right?
That's fine, I do.
No,
Be
I
patient.
closed my internet browser, so now I have to try. Dave, are you available on May 8th, if you can hear us?
Is he still on?
Yes, I'm available May 8th.
This room is not available.
I'm sorry, I kind of threw you under the bus there, Dave, but I think that's really important information that you need to share with your committee about
Yep,
qualifying.
yep, will do.
Oh, you did share it already, Heidi said?
He talked
Yeah,
to me about it. This room is not available on the 8th, or any Wednesday in the month of May.
Well, how many people are you? Can you fill in a smaller room?
Is the village hall open?
The smaller ones,
Too small, too crowded.
Village Hall would be available.
Village Hall?
So you don't want to do a Zoom meeting, you want to do in person?
I think it's better to duke it out in person.
I think
Yeah,
in
there's
person.
too many people.
100%,
Good.
yeah.
The Village Hall?
5:30.
Hey, that's Marina Committee.
Okay. Ad hoc outdoor rec has not met. Parking task force has not met. Parks,
Does anybody have any questions on the minutes that are in there?
okay, personnel has not met. And commission,
Does anybody have any questions on those minutes? Oh, I had a follow-up. When I talked about that, the municipality magazine, that I wanted copies of the, all that housing stuff for them, did you?
I have the link for their staff report. So you did it at plan commission, so it's ready for the plan commission members. To go in their packet.
Oh, it could have just been sent out separate. Okay,
Okay,
that's, but it's next Tuesday, so that's all okay. It's not an agenda item, though. It was just an FYI for everybody to,
we talked about this at the last meeting. Here you go.
okay, thanks. Thank you.
okay, SBA.
I don't,
Done.
it's down as the liaison.
Tourism zones,
Nothing so much on tourism zone, you know, we always. Destination Door County does report during that, I guess, just a real quick little FYI, Destination Door County, we. Are wrapping up the update to the strategic plan, they're gonna have a presentation on that, so if anyone's interested,
That's coming up.
yeah, let us know, but. The Tourism Zone Commission, I believe it was, if I remember right, the executive session, so there's nothing to show.
Yeah, the big meeting is Thursday. And then, well, Tuesday should give us better, but January room tax was tough for everybody. In particular, Sister Bay. And,
we fared worse than the rest of
we
them.
felt worse than the rest, yeah, we were down 12.
Which is unusual.
We haven't fared worse than the rest in 8 years.
Yeah,
So, but it's a teeny little month.
yeah, I know. So
It's
it's
a little bitty
nothing.
month. And the other thing to remember too is that for the first 3 months of last year, we had construction in the village. And they all stayed at open hearth.
Mhm.
So during those months, that coupled with no snow. No, there was nothing. You know, I mean, that was no snow. I mean, when was the last time we were able to get idle grants for the first quarter? I mean, you know, the feds are giving us idle grants because there was no snow. And you can imagine what it's like in Boulder Junction or something. So that was not a good combination. And they were building they're building the medical center. So we did have some construction going on. Again, and it's not gonna be good for February either. I think we're gonna have a tough first quarter. You know, so it'll get better.
I think I saw that, Governor Evers approved grants for small businesses that were affected by the lack
He did.
of snow this winter, and Door County is
Mhm.
included in there.
Yeah, 4%.
I
As a
think
matter of fact, they're gonna do a seminar. The SBA will send this out to members in case there's questions on how to do it and how you qualify and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think deadline September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a 4% rate, so.
Yeah.
What the heck? And I think the qualifications or the, you know, what you have to, to do to get it are pretty easy.
Daily DC is doing something Thursday.
Uh-huh.
The mailing was.
Uh-huh. But up in Boulder Junction, I mean, down 40-50%,
Yeah, they
Places
do
didn't
a
open.
lot of snowmobiling there.
really,
Well, snow.
really tough with the weapons.
Utility.
Any questions?
Village hall planning did not meet, or did it?
They did not meet because we were waiting for Marina to decide what bathrooms they wanted back there. And then we also had to wait for the floodplain survey to get done, which is being done this week.
All right, matters to be placed on a future agenda or referred to committee. We put a couple out there, is there any others?
Well, I know that we've talked about this in the past, but if it can't be on the next agenda, it can at least be on the agenda within the next couple months. We need to talk about this history canopy, this history corner of Sister Bay, and preserving some of the historical look. Like Mitch Larson's done a terrific job, Brooks. Some of the house right across the street from the administration building. The Razor House, I'm really worried about that. If they sell it or redo it, we don't wanna lose that forever. And then I totally disagree about Chad's letter that he wrote about how saving a historical look in that part of town is gonna look terrible because there's all this modern building. But that's all we have left of the historical site of Sister Bay. And it can bring in tourism. It'll be a beautiful walking area. People are drawn to history. It's good for the village. It's good for tourism.
So that,
So he wants, putting up a 3-story, why can't he put up a 3-story apartment complex there? It's like, come on, it's just a small section of town.
so what you're saying is that this is the historical overlay district that was to go to
Yeah.
plan? Is that?
Yeah,
That's
it needs to be on an agenda to go to plan, and I know there's a lot on everybody's plate, but I'm just worried about the clock is ticking and
Okay.
property gets sold and it's gone, it's too
Okay.
late.
Even with like water, I don't know, what if like Wild Tomato gets knocked down? What if, I just don't want giant buildings. all the
Yeah,
time.
I mean.
Well,
you can
nobody would
instill-
be ever be able to build anything big.
Well, what's the
We're
code?
on
Is
Wild
the code-
Tomato
Okay,
because they
but-
have no parking.
Confectionery
Oh,
or
that's
any of
true.
those little buildings.
They could go up to 3 stories at
3
confectional.
stories.
Is there any way?
But they would have to have parking.
Mm-hmm.
Parking will always dictate the size of your structure.
I would just like to see smaller structures. Or,
I personally think you should have no land in downtown because it's gonna take one creative guy to get in there and figure it out.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
we
fine.
already have a 3-story that's atrocious.
Yes, we do.
but can you limit building more?
It's limited to 3.
I mean, can you limit
34
it to
feet,
one?
right? You can have a design code that talks about like a historic facade in certain areas and things of that nature. We
I
could.
mean, you own a business, right?
Yeah.
And how would you feel if somebody told you that you couldn't put a 2nd story on and expand your business? When you own the property, you pay taxes.
The other
Okay,
thing, when you
3
talk
stories?
about-
Probably not good.
Yeah,
When you talk about small buildings, really, what the other thing you're talking about is increasing sprawl, because that's the inevitability of small, 1-story buildings that are small, it's gonna keep growing outward.
I mean,
And that doesn't, as much as you think that small buildings are quaint, it's a little counterintuitive to realize that some of the areas that are the most quaint are a little bit, they have 2-3-story buildings, but the thing is the appropriateness and the scale relative to other things is what you notice. So if you have one building that's out of scale, it really throws things out of whack.
and you need to make a plea to the plan commission because they're not following the architectural guidelines. I voted no on multiple projects over the architecture, which is one of the very few things that we can do. And others have not agreed with me. So if you want it quaint, then you have to abide by the architectural code.
I mean, you can get ahead of things like the Razor building. I mean, the Martins have owned that for years. Go to the Martins and tell them the village wants first right of refusal, like. If we feel that strongly about it, I don't know if we do, but
We're getting a little,
It's in
little
pretty
far
bad
down on
shape.
this one item, so I think we should,
yeah, I know,
so
but that's how you.
Patrice's recommendation to put the historical overlay district to plan was.
Yeah, and this is something that goes back to the 70s. It's been talked about, but never acted on.
move to adjourn?
Action by Warner,
Second.
second by Orozco, all those in favor?
I-
We're adjourned.